Welcome to Cook the Garden Podcast, your weekly audio source for delicious and easy garden fresh recipes and growing tips. I'm your host, Ginain Grays. Let's cook the garden. Hello, and welcome back to Cook the Garden. You're listening to episode number 5, and today, guys, I am bringing a special treat to you. It is Garden to Glass this week. So I'm bringing you guys my favorite fall or holiday cocktail. But first of all, I can't believe it's October already. Like, where did September go? I just want to know. And we're almost through halfway of this season, and I'm just really having a blast. I would love to hear from you all. Let me know what you think of past episodes. Let me know how you're enjoying this podcast. And just, I love to hear your feedback. How are we doing? What do you want to hear more about? Are there any recipes out there that you would love for me to talk about, or any particular gardening and growing tips you would like for me to share? Definitely let me know, because I really do appreciate all of the feedback. So back to the recipe. As we start thinking about the holidays coming up and just gathering with family and friends, and gathering around delicious food and drinks, because that's really what it's all about, right? The holidays. My red wine and orange sangria is the perfect cocktail for this occasion. You know, it marries flavors of juice, brandy, herbs, and of course, fresh fruits. These days, you can easily find sangria made with white wine or even rosé. But in this recipe, I use red wine to make it a little bit more traditional, more of a Spanish style sangria. For me, the best part about sangrias are the fresh fruits and herbs you can pick right out of your garden. Today, I'll share some information about growing citrus as well. Living in Florida, I grow quite a bit of citrus, including lemons, limes, kumquats, grapefruit, and even tangelos. You can find all of those in my backyard. So stick around. I will share a few of my tips and just some useful information about growing citrus. So before jumping in, let me just share a few pointers and address some of the questions I've received about this recipe or just sangria in general. So let's start with the red wine. You want to look for a bottle of fruity Spanish red wine, such as a Tempranillo or a Garnacha. It doesn't have to be an expensive wine. In fact, you don't want to splurge at all, because you're going to dilute the wine with other flavors. So there's really no need to splurge and spend a lot of money on a bottle of wine. So this recipe also has brandy in it, which is more of a traditional route. You can also use an orange liqueur like a Cointreau or even a Grand Marnier. And depending on how strong you like your sangria, you would just add more or less. I typically don't like mine too strong, so I go a little light on the liquor, but hey, that's just me. You do you when it comes to this recipe. For the fruits, I would say you definitely want to have citrus in there. I normally go with oranges, and if you want to stick in a lime or lemon, the limes are really nice because it adds a nice tartness to it. And whatever you could find seasonally. I also love to add berries, and around this time of year, you'll be able to find some cranberries as well, which gives it a really nice seasonal flair to it. And last but not least, I use freshly squeezed orange juice in this recipe. It really is a great alternative to adding sugars and other sweeteners to your sangria. It's also a really great way to add that extra citrusy flavor to the wine. All right, so who's ready to make this sangria? Because I know I am. Let's go ahead and jump into this quick and simple recipe. And if you're interested in growing some citrus, I have some really great tips for you later. So we're going to start with a half a cup of orange juice. This can be either freshly squeezed oranges or just store-bought orange juice would work as well. About 2 cups of fresh fruit. This can be a combination of sliced berries, citrus, or any kind of seasonal fruit you have available, 1/4 of a cup of brandy, 1.5 cups of club soda. This is optional. 6 to 8 sprigs of fresh rosemary herb, and you're going to be using this for garnish. And ice. This can be to your liking. You can add as little or as much ice as you would like. In a large pitcher, you want to mix your orange juice, your wine, fruit, and your brandy together. You want to mix it up really nicely. And then all you're going to do is cover and chill in the refrigerator for a minimum of an hour. You can actually chill the sangria for up to 24 hours. So once you're ready to serve, you're going to go ahead and pour your sangria into a glass, and then we're going to top it off with some of that club soda. You want to gently stir in the club soda before serving over your ice, and that is it. Oh, and don't forget to garnish. We're going to use our fresh herb sprigs, your rosemary sprigs, and you want to add that in your glass as well. And that's it. You're good to go. You're good to enjoy this delicious and festive red wine and orange sangria. Now, for a family-friendly version of this, you can actually make this into a mocktail, and all you will have to do is leave out the brandy and substitute the red wine for a non-alcoholic sparkling wine. I know my kids absolutely love the mocktail version of this, and it's just a way for the whole family to enjoy it. Make sure to check the show notes. I'll include a link to the blog post that has this entire recipe. So if you do decide to make this, definitely tag me on Instagram at Cook the Garden. I love to see what you do with this recipe. As I mentioned earlier, I do grow quite a bit of citrus. Most of my trees in the backyard are in the ground. However, I do have a tangelo tree that I keep in a pot. So a lot of folks don't realize that citrus actually grows really well in containers. Growing citrus fruit out of containers is really a great option for folks who may be in climates that isn't like warm throughout the year, like myself in Florida. So just having the ability to move your plants indoors is just a really great option. So I always like to remind people that you can grow citrus fruit out of containers and pots. So if that's the route you're going to take, here are just a few quick tips for growing your citrus out of containers. You want to make sure that you choose the best container for your citrus plants. So your container should be twice as large as the nursery pot that comes with your plant. Large terracotta pots or ceramic pots work well, and my favorite are those whiskey barrels, the half whiskey barrels. Those are actually really great for growing citrus. I would say a good rule of thumb is that it should hold at least 20 gallons, which is about 2 cubic feet of soil or more. Also pay special attention to your soil, making sure that it remains healthy for your citrus tree in a container. I normally use for my soil potting mix with a combination of compost or either coconut coir or peat moss. Citrus in containers will also need a lot more frequent watering. So just in general, containers require more water anyway because they dry out quicker. So you just always want to make sure that you are checking your soil and making sure that it is properly hydrated. So that's my time today, friends. I really hope you enjoyed this garden to glass recipe, and hopefully you get a chance to make it this holiday season. And if you've been thinking about growing citrus, I hope this episode has encouraged you to take that first step. I appreciate you listening, and until next time, have a great week. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Cook the Garden. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. As a new podcast, it really helps to add value while growing our awesome community. As always, I really appreciate it. Until next time, friends, keep slaying those garden fresh recipes.